Imagine a point, not a mathematical abstraction, but a physical singularity containing all the mass and energy of the future universe. Imagine silence preceding any sound, non-existence preceding any being. And then, from this point, from this silence, an explosion occurs, not a destructive one, but a creative one, the Big Bang, the birth of space, time, matter, energy, everything we know as the universe. This was not a local event that happened somewhere out there. It was the expansion of space itself, the emergence of time as a dimension, the beginning of a cosmic evolution that continues to this day. And at the very heart of this creation lies an echo, a subtle but omnipresent vibration, a resonance of the first moment of being, permeating every corner of the cosmos, from the most distant galaxies to every atom in our body. This echo of the Big Bang, a symphony of beginnings and endings, a cosmic rhythm that determines not only the fate of the universe, but also the very fabric of our existence, our personal history, our inner world. For those of us who have lived a life, observing the changing eras, personal and historical changes, the echo of the Big Bang ceases to be an abstract cosmological theory and becomes a deep metaphor for life itself. We begin to see this eternal cycle everywhere, as a reflection of the macrocosm and the microcosm of our destiny. We observe the birth and death of stars, galaxies, planets, and in parallel, the birth and death of ideas, relationships, stages of life. As Percy Bysshe Shelley wrote in his poem, Ode to the West Wind, "O wind, if winter comes, can spring be far behind?" And in this cyclical nature, not only a law of nature, but also consolation, hope, wisdom. The completion of one stage is an inevitable harbinger of a new beginning. Just as spring always comes after winter, dawn after night, and transformation into a new state of being after death. As Hermann Hesse said in Siddhartha, death is not the opposite of life, but a part of it. And in this acceptance of cyclicality lies the key to peace and harmony and maturity. Recall the fundamental laws of physics, such as the law of conservation of energy and matter. Nothing is lost without a trace. Nothing arises from nothing. Everything is just a transformation of energy and matter, an eternal dance of particles and waves, unfolding in space and time, which began with the echo of the Big Bang. And our life, our consciousness, our personality are no exception to this cosmic order. We are temporary forms, created from stardust, existing in the flow of time, but belonging to eternity through this inextricable connection with the cosmic origin. And in this realization, not only before cosmic inevitability, but also reverence for the greatness of being, for the miracle of life, which manifests itself in myriad forms in this endless transformation. Modern cosmology, exploring distant galaxies and relic radiation, penetrates deeper and deeper into the mysteries of the Big Bang, revealing not only scientific facts, but also philosophical horizons. The concept of the multiverse, the possibility of the existence of many universes arising and disappearing in an eternal cycle of creation and destruction, expands our understanding of the cosmic scale and our place in it. As Albert Einstein said, the most incomprehensible thing about the world is that it is comprehensible, and the comprehension of cosmic laws is not only a scientific, but also a spiritual task, a path to a deeper understanding of oneself and one's relationship to the infinity of the universe. The paradox of the cosmic scale is that the more we learn about the universe, the smaller we become in our own eyes, but the greater the value of every moment of our short earthly life as a unique opportunity to consciously perceive this cosmic greatness. The history of humanity, from the first civilizations to modern global culture, is also subject to the rhythm of the echo of the Big Bang, the cycles of birth, flourishing, and decline, the rise and fall of empires, the change of cultural eras, periodic crises and transformations. All this is a reflection of the cosmic rhythm of beginning and ending, manifested on the scale of history. Recall Ibn Khaldun's theory of civilizational cycles or Nikolai Kondratyev's theory of history cycles. History is not linear progress, but rather a spiral, moving through phases of birth, flourishing, decline, and new transformation. And understanding these cycles gives us historical perspective, wisdom not to cling to the transient, but to see the eternal in the changeable, to find meaning not only in achievements, but also in inevitable losses and endings. In our personal lives, we also constantly experience these rhythms, from the small cycles of day and night to the large cycles of life stages. Periods of activity are replaced by periods of rest, creativity by routine, ups by downs. As Carl Jung said, individuation is a journey through opposites, and in these opposites, not only but also opportunity for growth and wholeness. Accepting the rhythm of the echo of the Big Bang in our lives is accepting life itself in all its fullness, with its beginnings and endings, with its ups and downs, with its joys and sorrows. In maturity, especially acutely feeling the flow of time, we begin to appreciate every moment as a reflection of eternity. We no longer strive for the illusion of immortality, but find value in the finiteness of our earthly path. We learn to live here and now, filling each day with meaning and gratitude, realizing that every moment is a unique echo of the Big Bang, a unique sound of the symphony of being, which we are called to hear and live in all fullness. And in this deep peace and wisdom of maturity, allowing us to see in every beginning an echo of eternity, and in every ending the seed of a new beginning, in the eternal symphony of the echo of the Big Bang. The paradox of emptiness is not merely a logical puzzle, but a doorway into the very essence of reality, into the mystery of being and non-being. Emptiness is what we usually perceive as the absence of everything: matter, energy, space, time, consciousness. Absolute nothingness. But if we dare to look deeper into this abyss of nothing, if we discard habitual notions and stereotypes of thinking, we may discover that emptiness itself is the foundation for all existence, a boundless potential from which the universe arises and to which it returns. This is not dead and barren emptiness, but a living and pulsating fullness of possibilities, a matrix from which the entirety of existence is created. For a mature person who has experienced loss and disappointment, who has become aware of the transience and temporality of all earthly things, the paradox of emptiness becomes not only a philosophical abstraction, but a vital necessity. We learn to see in moments of emptiness, after the end of relationships, after the loss of loved ones, after the collapse of hopes, not only the end, but also the beginning, not only loss, but also an opportunity for new growth and transformation. As Eckhart Tolle said in The Power of Now, emptiness is not to be feared, but to be accepted. In emptiness lies the power of creativity, the power of being, and in this acceptance of emptiness lies the key to overcoming suffering, to gaining inner freedom and wholeness and maturity. Eastern philosophy, especially the Mahayana Buddhist tradition, has deeply explored the concept of shunyata, emptiness. Shunyata is not nihilism and not a denial of reality, but a radical recognition of the interdependence and emptiness of self-existence of all phenomena. All forms of existence, physical and mental, arise and disappear in interdependence, without having an independent and unchanging core, substance, or self. They are like waves on the surface of the boundless ocean of emptiness, temporary and changeable manifestations of the immeasurable and indescribable whole. And this emptiness is not a negation of life, but its integral basis, a space where life can manifest itself in all its diversity. As Nagarjuna, one of the greatest philosophers of Mahayana Buddhism, asserts, emptiness is form. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is not different from form. Form is not different from emptiness. And in this paradoxical formula lies the heart of the paradox of emptiness. Modern physics, especially quantum mechanics and field theory, also approaches the understanding of the paradoxical nature of emptiness. Quantum vacuum is not absolute nothingness, but a dynamic field, full of virtual particles constantly arising and disappearing from nothing, a pulsating ocean of energy and potential forms. The energy of emptiness, the cosmological constant, dark energy, constitutes the majority of the energy of the universe. From this emptiness, matter is born. From it all physical phenomena, structures and forms arise. As physicist John Archibald Wheeler paradoxically noted, there is no there without a here. An emptiness is not there, but an omnipresent here, the basis of existence itself. In art, emptiness is no less important than fullness. Pause in music creates tension and expectation, emphasizes sound, gives space for resonance. Blank space on canvas emphasizes form, gives air to the image, invites contemplation. Silence between words enhances their meaning, provides an opportunity for reflection and emotional response. Recall the Japanese aesthetics of wabi-sabi, valuing imperfection, impermanence, and emptiness as sources of beauty. Zen Sumie, painting with its minimalism and emphasis on empty space. Traditional Japanese haiku poetry with its laconicism and subtext. John Cage's 4 feet 33 inches music piece, consisting of silence. All these are examples of how emptiness becomes not an absence of expression, but a special form of artistic power, speaking without words, addressing the depth of consciousness. In personal relationships, emptiness, time apart, moments of silence, space for personal freedom, are not only inevitable but necessary for the health and growth of relationships. Too close contact, constant fusion can lead to loss of individuality, to suffocation of feelings, to depletion of emotional resources. Space between people is space for breathing, for individual growth, for maintaining interest and novelty in relationships. As Khalil Gibran wrote in The Prophet, "Let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the winds of the heavens dance between you." And emptiness in relationships is not alienation, but an opportunity for genuine intimacy based on respect for each other's individuality, on the value of every meeting after separation, on the depth of connection that has withstood the test of space and time. Maturity is a time when we fully accept the paradox of emptiness as an integral part of life. We no longer seek to avoid emptiness, to fill it with bustle and noise, fearing to be left alone with ourselves. We find in it peace, silence, space for creativity, and self-knowledge. We realize that emptiness is not an enemy, but a friend, not absence, but boundless potential of being. We understand that fullness is impossible without emptiness, as sound without silence, form without space, life without death. And in this paradox, not only logical contradiction, but also deep wisdom of maturity, leading to wholeness, harmony, and acceptance of both fullness and emptiness, as two integral voices in the eternal symphony of the universe, in the symphony of our own lives. Stardust and clay. This phrase, perhaps first uttered by Carl Sagan, has become not just a popular science expression, but a powerful symbol of the dual, paradoxical nature of humanity. It reflects the eternal tension between our cosmic greatness and earthly limitation, between striving for the infinite and attachment to the finite, between spirit and matter. Stardust, a symbol of our cosmic origin, our connection with the infinity of the universe, our potential for spiritual growth, for creativity, of higher truths. Clay, on the other hand, a symbol of our earthly essence, our physical body, limited by time and space, prone to suffering, disease, and death, attached to the material world with its joys and temptations. Man is a unique being in whom these two opposite principles, the eternal and the temporal, the heavenly and the earthly, spirit and matter, are paradoxically combined. For people who have reached maturity, who have gone through the crucible of life's trials and long reflections on the meaning of existence, this dual unity of human nature becomes not only obvious, but also key to self-understanding and finding inner harmony. In maturity, we feel ourselves especially acutely as stardust, when we are seized by spiritual thirst, when we strive for high ideals of love, justice, beauty, when we ponder the eternal questions of life and death, cosmos and consciousness. And at the same time, clay, when we face the limitations of the physical body, the inevitability of aging and disease, vulnerability to suffering and loss, attachment to earthly pleasures and material comfort. And in this constant tension between the cosmic and the earthly, between spirit and matter, the drama and the greatness of human existence, the scientific discovery of our cosmic origin not only confirms the poetic metaphor of stardust, but also fills it with deep scientific meaning. Astrophysics and cosmochemistry prove that the elements that form the basis of our organic life, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, iron, and others, were synthesized in the cores of stars in the process of thermonuclear fusion and scattered in space by supernova explosions. These heavy elements, necessary for life, did not exist in the initial composition of the universe, formed after the Big Bang, consisting mainly of hydrogen and helium. They are the result of stellar evolution, a product of the stellar kitchen, as astronomer Fred Hoyle, who formulated the theory of stellar nucleosynthesis, figuratively put it. We are literally children of dead stars, carrying particles of stellar matter in our bodies, fragments of cosmic fire. And in this realization, not only a scientific fact, but also a reason for reverence for cosmic greatness and the mystery of life. But at the same time, we also remain clay, earthly beings subject to the laws of physics and biology, limited by space and time. We are born, grow, age, and die, prone to diseases, suffering, and limitations of the physical world. Our earthly nature is fragile and temporary, like a clay vessel that can break at any moment. And in this, our vulnerability, but also the special value and intensity of earthly existence, its uniqueness and transience, calling us to appreciate every moment, every feeling, every relationship. In mythology and religious traditions of many cultures, the image of clay is often used for a symbolic description of the creation of man by divine forces from earthly material. In the biblical book of Genesis, it is said that God created Adam from the dust of the earth, clay, and breathed into him the breath of life. In Greek mythology, Prometheus sculpts people from clay and them with fire stolen from the gods. In Sumerian Akkadian mythology, the goddess Mami creates the first people from clay and the blood of the gods. These myths reflect a deep, intuitive understanding of the dual nature of man, the earthly origin of the body, and the divine spark of the spirit, matter, and consciousness. Man appears as a creation sculpted from earthly materials, but endowed with something greater than mere matter, something cosmic, spiritual, eternal. Philosophical schools of Stoicism and existentialism also reflected on the dual nature of man, on the tension between finiteness and infinity, temporality and eternity. Stoics, such as Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, called for accepting the inevitability of death and the limitations of earthly existence, focusing on what is in our power, our will, our reason, our virtue. Existentialists, such as Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, emphasize the tragedy of the human condition, man's abandonment in a meaningless world, but also the greatness of human freedom, responsibility for one's choice and creation of meaning in a meaningless world. And the paradox of stardust and clay is a reflection of this existential tension, a call to accept the duality of one's nature and find one's path to meaning and wholeness in this paradoxical existence. In our inner life, in our feelings, thoughts, aspirations, we constantly feel the struggle between stardust and clay, between the higher and the lower, the spiritual and the material, the eternal and the temporal. The striving for spiritual growth, self-knowledge, creativity, love, compassion, beyond the egoistic I, is the voice of stardust in us, our cosmic nature, our potential for the transcendent. Attachment to material goods, sensual pleasures, selfish desires, fear of suffering and death, limitations of the physical body and earthly existence, is the voice of clay in us, our earthly nature, our finiteness and vulnerability. And in this inner dynamic of opposites, not only a source of conflict and suffering, but also an inexhaustible source of human development, self-improvement, spiritual seeking, and of wholeness. Maturity is a time for integrating these two principles, a time for accepting oneself as a whole being, paradoxically combining both stardust and clay. We learn not to deny either side of our nature, not to fight with them, but to accept them as integral parts of a whole, to live in harmony with both, finding a balance between the cosmic and the earthly, the spiritual and the material, the eternal and the temporal. We understand that our greatness is not in denying the earthly, but in the ability to see the cosmic in the earthly, the eternal in the temporal, the infinite in the limited, the transcendent in the immanent. And in this unity of opposites, not only paradox, but also deep beauty and fullness of human existence, combining both stardust and clay in the eternal dance of the cosmic and the earthly, spirit and matter, time and eternity. The mirror of time is not merely a magical artifact from legends, but a symbolic expression of the unique human ability to perceive time not as a linear sequence of moments, but as a holistic unity of past, present, and future. Unlike an ordinary mirror, reflecting only the momentary image, the mirror of time is a metaphor for consciousness capable of encompassing the entire time continuum, looking back into the depths of the past, realizing the value of the present, and looking into the future, understanding the inextricable connection and constant interaction of these three dimensions of time. This is not mysticism or fantasy, but the highest form of human, a deepened perception of reality, beyond the limitations of linear, fragmented time into the space of into eternity manifested in every moment. For a mature person who has accumulated rich life experience, felt the burden of time, and pondered the course of their own destiny, the mirror of time opens up as an invaluable instrument of self-knowledge, wisdom, and acceptance of life in all its fullness. We begin to realize that our life is not a chaotic set of random events, but a meaningful, albeit not always understandable to us, path, where every moment is inextricably linked with the previous and subsequent ones, where the past does not disappear without a trace, but continues to shape our present, where the present is not only a consequence of the past, but also lays the foundations for the future, which, in turn, is already invisibly present in the present, as possibility and potential. The mirror of time allows us to see this complex network of temporal connections, to understand cause and effect relationships not only in our personal biography, but also in the history of family, nation, humanity, cosmos, to gain a deeper understanding not only of ourselves, but also of man's place in this grand time continuum, in eternity manifested in every instant of the present. The philosophy of phenomenology and existentialism pays special attention to the phenomenon of time as a fundamental category of human being. Edmund Husserl, the founder of phenomenology, inner time consciousness, showing how our consciousness perceives time not as a linear flow, but as a lasting, where past, present, and future are woven together in a living present. Martin Heidegger in Being and Time develops an existential understanding of time, emphasizing that time is not an objective entity, but a mode of human existence, a horizon of understanding of human existence. Time, according to Heidegger, is inseparable of death and finiteness of human being, from choosing one's path in a limited temporal space. The mirror of time is a symbolic embodiment of this phenomenological and existential understanding of time, an invitation to deepen self-knowledge through the unity of past, present, and future in of human being. Modern physics and cosmology are also making revolutionary changes in our understanding of time, questioning the Newtonian concept of absolute linear time and proposing alternative models of relativity and nonlinearity of time. Einstein's theory of relativity showed that time is not universal and absolute, but relative and depends on gravity and the speed of movement of the observer, that time and space are connected into a single space-time continuum. The concept of the block universe suggests that time does not flow, but all moments of time, past, present, and future, exist simultaneously, like blocks in a four-dimensional space-time. Theories of quantum gravity and multiverse question even the very notion of time as a fundamental category of reality, offering models where time can arise and disappear, branch and intertwine, lose its linearity and unidirectionality. The mirror of time is a symbolic reflection of this nonlinear, multidimensional, and mysterious nature of time, an invitation to beyond the bounds of habitual linear representations, and to of time as a living, pulsating, and reality, in which all times are merged together in the eternal present. In art and culture, the image of the mirror of time finds numerous embodiments and interpretations, from mythological motifs of mirrors showing the past and future, to literary and cinematic plots about time travel and parallel realities. Literature of stream of consciousness, Marcel Proust, James Joyce, Virginia Woolf, nonlinear, subjective time of human perception, where memories of the past, sensations of the present, and premonitions of the future are intertwined in a bizarre fabric of consciousness. Science fiction about time, H.G. Wells, Philip K. Dick, the Strugatsky brothers, paradoxes and possibilities of time travel, alternative histories, and temporal parallels. Films about time, Back to the Future, Inception, Interstellar, visualize the complexity and mystery of temporal phenomena, inviting the viewer to think about the nature of time and their place in it. The mirror of time is a symbol of this inexhaustible interest of humanity in the mystery of time, in its reflections in culture, art, science, philosophy, and in the very fabric of our existence. Even in everyday life, we can find reflections of the mirror of time in ordinary mirrors, if we can look deeper than the surface. In the wrinkles around the eyes, the imprint of years lived, the history of joys and sorrows, the experience of love and loss. In the sparkle of the eyes, a reflection of the present moment, the living fire of consciousness, the power of feeling and thought. In a slight smile, hope for the future, faith in life, optimism, and acceptance of the inevitability of change. Each mirror is a potential mirror of time, if we can see behind the physical reflection, the temporal dimension of our destiny, the connection of past, present, and future in a unified continuum of life. Imagine a drop of water, not just a chemical compound, but a microscopic world, full of life, movement, and incredible complexity. Immerse yourself in this world, shrink to the size of a cell, the basic building block of the living, and you will discover a hidden symphony sounding in every living organism, in every blade of grass, every insect, every human being. A cell is not just a mechanical structure, but a miniature universe, pulsating with energy, full of continuous movement, chemical reactions, information flows, and complex interactions. It is a living factory, working with amazing precision and efficiency, self-reproducing, self-regulating, adapting to environmental changes, capable of growth, development, and self-improvement. And in the heart of this microscopic universe sounds the hidden symphony of the cell, a subtle but omnipresent harmony of life, the rhythm of biological processes that determines not only the functioning of every organ and system in the body, but also the very fabric of our existence, our physical form, our biological heritage. This is a symphony of beginnings and endings at the micro level, an eternal cycle of cell life and death, renewal and regeneration, maintaining homeostasis and adapting to changes. For a mature person accustomed to a macroscopic view of the world, immersion in the microcosm of the cell can be a striking discovery and a source of new wonder at the miracle of life. We begin to see that behind the apparent simplicity of everyday life lies the infinite complexity and beauty of biological processes taking place in our bodies every second, every moment. We realize that we are not just physical bodies, but billions of cells working in harmony in a unique symphony of life, each of which is a separate world with its own laws and rhythms. And in this, not only scientific knowledge, but also deep reverence for the wisdom of nature, for the mystery of life manifested in all its diversity and complexity. Modern cell biology and biochemistry reveal ever newer levels of complexity and organization of cellular life. The structure of a cell is not a static diagram, but a dynamic system, constantly changing, adapting, responding to external and internal signals. Cellular organelles, mitochondria, ribosomes, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, and others are specialized factories performing various functions: energy production, protein synthesis, substance transport, waste disposal, etc. The cell membrane is not just a shell, but a complex filter and communication center regulating the flow of substances and signals between the cell and the environment. The genetic apparatus of the cell, DNA and RNA, is an information system of enormous capacity and accuracy, storing and transmitting hereditary information, controlling all cellular processes. And all these elements are not just mechanically connected, but work in harmony in a unified symphony of cellular life, coordinating, interacting, complementing each other, creating an amazing pattern of biological organization. Molecular biology and genomics penetrate even deeper, to the level of molecules and genes, revealing the mysteries of the genetic code, mechanisms of gene expression regulation, protein synthesis, enzymatic reactions, metabolic pathways, and signaling cascades. We begin to understand how billions of molecules interact in a cell with amazing precision and speed, how genes control cellular processes, how cells communicate with each other using chemical signals, how organisms adapt to environmental changes at the molecular level. And the deeper we into the microcosm of the cell, the more amazed by the complexity, perfection, and harmony of biological systems, the more the greatness of life manifested in the infinity of the small. In art and culture, the image of the cell and microcosm is also reflected, although not as clearly as cosmic or macroscopic images. Abstract art, painting, sculpture, music, can be interpreted as an attempt to express the formless and dynamic nature of the microcosm, the rhythms and energies pulsating in the depth of matter, like cellular processes. Bioart and genetic art directly work with biological materials and technologies, exploring the aesthetic and ethical aspects of the microscopic world and the possibilities of manipulating life at the cellular and molecular levels. Popular science films and exhibitions about the microworld visualize the beauty and mystery of cellular structures and processes, opening up to the general public the amazing world hidden from the naked eye. The hidden symphony of the cell is a symbolic expression of this potential of art to reflect the invisible reality of the microcosm, an attempt to convey the emotional and aesthetic perception of the complexity, beauty, and harmony of cellular life sounding in each of us and around us. Even in everyday life, we can find reflections of the hidden symphony of the cell in our bodily sensations, if we can listen to ourselves deeper than the surface. The rhythm of breathing, heartbeat, blood pulsation, muscle movement, nerve impulses, chemical reactions. All these are sounds of the hidden symphony manifested in our body every moment. The feeling of life, energy, vibration in the body is like an echo of this symphony, a sensation of connection with the microcosm of one's own organism, with the infinite complexity and harmony of biological processes happening in us constantly and continuously. Maturity is a time when we learn to appreciate not only the macroscopic greatness of the universe, but also the microscopic beauty of life, to hear the hidden symphony of the cell sounding in each of us and around us. We no longer limit ourselves to the visible surface of phenomena, do not admire only the grandiose scales of the cosmos, but discover for ourselves the amazing world of the small, the infinity of complexity and beauty at the micro level, the wisdom of biological organization, and the harmony of life manifested in every cell. We understand that the great is in the small, that infinity is in the finite, that the universe is in the cell. And in this discovery, a new dimension of wisdom of maturity, allowing us to see the miracle of life in all its diversity of scales, from cosmic galaxies to microscopic cells, to hear the symphony of being sounding in every manifestation of life, including in our own body, as a microcosmic reflection of the greatness of the universe, in the hidden symphony of the cell, sounding in us and around us, reminding of the infinity of life and of the miracle of being in every moment of the present.